This is the Kia Seltos GT-Line. That is the Kia Seltos S-Line. You are a normal person looking to buy a compact SUV. You may have decided on the Seltos, but there's so much to choose from. So many models, so many options to think about. I am here to help. Well, I'm gonna give it a red hot go anyway. Before I do get going, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button, because when you do that, you get a little notification of every new video we post to the channel. If you like the video, hit like, and of course, get amongst the conversation down in the comments. We're gonna chop this video up into a bunch of sections. We're gonna talk about what it costs, what it's like to drive, what the warranty and servicing is like, what you get for your money, and of course, a wrap up at the end. Now, if you wanna jump to a certain bit, we've got the chapter markers down here below. We've got the time codes, and of course, if there's any detail we've missed in the video, it will surely be in the written reviews. They'll be linked down below. Whew, let's get cracking. The Kia Seltos arrived in 2019, just before COVID, and I was mightily impressed. Not by COVID, obviously, but by the Seltos. It sits below the Sportage in the Kia range and above the Stonic. Now, if you really think about it, there are 6 different versions of the Seltos. You've got the Seltos S, which is just under 27 grand. You've got the Seltos S Safety Pack, which is this one. You've got the Sport Plus front wheel drive, the Sport Plus all-wheel drive, and this, the GT-Line all-wheel drive at $42,200. So there's about 15 grand between the two. The reason we have them both here is to show you what that 15 grand buys you between the cars and all the little bits and pieces that are sprinkled throughout the range. So what does $42,200 buy you? Well, here on the GT-Line, there's a couple of really big things. There is LED lighting. Now on the bottom of the range, it's all halogens all the way up to this car. So this is the only one that has it. It's really annoying. So you get these LED headlights with this cool segmented effect. You've got LED daytime running lights, and you get LED fog lights. You also get this light bar across here. It doesn't go all the way across, but it goes most of the way across. It looks really cool at night. Different grille. This is the old Kia badge. There's a new Kia badge. It's a very cool Kia badge. And my cameraman reckons nobody cares about that, but I do. And Kia does too. So in the newer cars, and a car that you order today, you will get the new Kia badge. It'll look a little bit fresher and younger. If you stand back a little bit, you can see that things are just a little bit different to the rest of the range. A bit more of this nice satin color. Now, the other thing about the car is you get the black roof or you get a sunroof. Now, I'm personally a fan of the black roof, particularly with this color. Now, if you stand back, you can see that all of this together makes it look a little bit tougher. And some of that toughness comes from these 18-inch alloys. These are the biggest on the range. The Sport and the Sport Plus have 17s, and the S has those dinky little 16 steelies. You get this red cap in the middle, which kind of looks a bit, single nut motorsport, but of course there's all the normal stuff there. And you get these much better tires, and they're wider as well. All-wheel drive badging, you get this satin strip up the side of the car, satin effect handles, but they're still very much plastic. Slightly different cladding. It's cooler looking, isn't it? Just a bit less bare. Well, here at the back, they're actually more similar than I thought they were. I was thinking there was a lot more bling on this, but there's not. You've just got the black roof, and if you've got the sunroof, it's not even going to be black. And you've got this silver trim piece down here. Now, these look like fake exhausts. My colleagues, they get very mad about fake exhausts. I am not going to get mad about fake exhausts. I reckon they look great. One of the great things about having both of these cars in the same color means that I've really begun to appreciate just what a great piece of design the Seltos is, whether you've bought the $27,000 one or the $42,000 one. Both of you are getting a great piece of design. Up here in the GT-Line, you can really see where the money has gone. For a start, you get this very nice leather steering wheel. Down at the bottom of the range in the S, you get this really nasty polyurethane wheel. Although I am happy to admit that I am both spoilt and picky about that kind of thing. Like, it's fine, but this is much nicer, of course. Leather shifter. The seats are also leather. Now, I say leather, it's all fake leather, but that's okay. So if you're a vegan, you won't be offended by this, which is good. The seats are heated and cooled, so you're looked after very nicely there. Climate control is single zone. I don't know if that matters, but it matters to some people. That's what it is. You get wireless charging, which is kind of weird because even though this big 10.25-inch screen is brand spanking new, looks fantastic, has all sorts of really, really clever functions, the wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto doesn't come in this. It's only in the other car, in the S. So that's a bit mad that you get the wireless charging, but not the wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. Having said that, the wireless CarPlay and Auto in the other car is, well, it's flaky. So the USB one is much more reliable. Speaking of which, you get 2 USB ports and a 12-volt port. Look, this is a nice interior. It's really well designed. It's not avant-garde, it's not gonna excite you, but it's got lots of good tech. On top of all of that, you got these 2 normal dials and then a big screen between them and a head-up display. You get 2 cup holders up front in both the S and the GT line and bottle holders in the doors, so they're pretty much the same. But again, when you look at the GT line, you can see there's a lot more money spent against the more utilitarian interior of the S. Both are good though. So you're very well looked after in this car. And you've also got active cruise control, and that's all controlled here from the steering wheel, and you can switch off a couple of the safety systems if they're annoying you, like the lane keep assist, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's a really nice interior, just some really nice touches, and not much of that cheap plastic material that you do get in cars of this caliber. Here in the back of the GT, you get all the good stuff of the S, all the space, and you know, it's quite big, but you get an armrest with cup holders. You get this nice, it's fake, but it's fake leather, it's very nice. Very important to me, rear air vents and a USB port. I think it's the only car in the range that has a USB port to go with the 2 in the front. And here we have the boots. Now, looking at them, they look pretty much the same, and they kind of are, except in the top level GT line, you get a full-size alloy, which takes up all the space under the floor, and it's the same in the Sport and the Sport Plus. Whereas in the base level S, you get a space saver, which means the floor does that. So you can slide it out, make it a bit deeper if you've got a bit more stuff to fit in. That's really clever. This is a bit complicated, so let's start with the basics. All Seltoses get 6 airbags, ABS, stability and traction controls, reversing camera, forward AEB and lane keep assist. So here in the S, you can spend $1,000 to upgrade to the safety pack. That gets you upgraded AEB with pedestrian and cyclist detection, and it works day and night. It gets you leading vehicle departure alert, which is an upgraded version of driver attention detection, and it means that when the car in front leaves and you're not paying attention, it gives you a little beep. And it also gives you junction assist, which helps stop you turning across traffic coming your way. What it doesn't add is reverse cross traffic alert. That's kind of annoying. The GT line gets the full fat treatment with upgraded forward AEB, reverse AEB with rear cross traffic alert, blind spot collision alert, junction assist and upgraded driver attention alert like the S's safety pack. The Seltos has a 5-star ANCAP safety rating from 2019, no matter which model you choose. Now, I get really annoyed when cars don't have reverse cross traffic alert as standard. It should be on all cars. I'm not singling Kia out here. I will shout at anyone, any car maker that doesn't have that as standard. It's a really great piece of safety technology. It protects people, cars, saves you money. It's all brilliant. The problem with the Seltos range, it's only available on the top of the line GT line. You can't even get it as an option. Come on, Kia. Under these 2 bonnets are 2 very different engines. Now here in the Seltos S, and it's also in the Sport and the Sport Plus front wheel drive, is the 2-litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. It has 110 kilowatts, which is good, and 180 newton meters of torque, which isn't great. However, saving the day, and you will very rarely hear me say this, is a CVT transmission, or a continuously variable transmission. Normally I hate those. I'm going to say something really shocking here. It's actually better than the other one. We'll talk about that in a minute. Bet you can't wait. It's smooth, it's quiet, very understressed. It's a really good engine. Let's have a look at the other one. This one is the 1.6 litre turbo 4-cylinder. It has 130 kilowatts, so 20 more than the other one, and 265 newton meters of torque. That's much better. It just means you've got a bit more go. It has a twin clutch 7-speed transmission, and it's all-wheel drive. So you can get this engine in the top of the range GT line and also in the Sport Plus all-wheel drive. The transmission, it's not great. As I've already said, that CVT is really good. It's just not great. It's not terrible, it's just not great. And we'll talk about that when we take it for a drive. And Look, this engine is in all sorts of Kias and Hyundais. It doesn't have a lot of character. It's not a hot hatch engine. It's just a bit more powerful. Both of them run on standard unleaded, which is a nice bonus. Kia offers a 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty and starts you with a year of roadside assist. Every time you service with Kia, you get another year added on. The cap price servicing isn't cheap like a Toyota though. The S costs an average of $408 per service for the first 7 services for a total of $2,818. The GT-Line with its shorter 10,000 kilometre interval costs $3,214 over the 7 visits, or $459 per service. If you want more detail on the warranty and servicing, check out my full written review in the description below. The first thing you notice about this car is this. I mean, I have to put it in and turn it like an animal. It's no big deal, really. It's just a little difference, you know. So most of the range has keyless entry and start, so you don't have to take the thing out of your pocket or out of your bag or whatever it is that you do with your key. Now, I'm going to be completely upfront. I've already mentioned this, but I really like the way this car drives. It's really smooth. The big balloony tyres soak up pretty much anything that's underneath them. It's a really comfortable car to be in. You know, my wife and I did a long trip up to the Blue Mountains, and it's comfortable, it's quiet, there's almost no tyre noise, a little bit of wind noise around the mirrors, but really, I'm picking here. It's so quiet and so nice. One thing I will say is that all of them, the angle of the windscreen and the greyness of the dash does mean that when you're driving like I am here, the sun's kind of high and down, I do get quite serious reflections. But that, I'm picking here, right? The engine is not powerful at all. It is, it's just not powerful. I'm not going to pretend it's, even though it's a 2 litre, it is moving a fair bit of weight. As far as CVTs go, it's just really good. Like, most CVTs are terrible. Like, this does do the kind of lawnmower effect, but it kind of pretends to be an automatic transmission at the same time. So it gives you the revs, and then it lifts up and then falls away. So yeah, it's a really nice car to drive. The steering's good, the brakes are good, everything's good. But yeah, it's not a rocket. So when you load it up, it's going to slow down. It's surprisingly good. I say surprisingly, I first drove this a couple of years ago and I was so impressed with it. It really, I was so impressed, and I remain so. Stepping into this car, it's the same but different. So a lot of the things about it that are good in the other car are good in this one. So you got a really good ride. It's just a nice balance, and you can tell that the main difference is because of the tyres. So with 2-inch bigger wheels and lower profile tyres, you get a little bit more firmness, and so things are a little bit more eager when you're turning the steering wheel and doing things a bit quicker. So you get a little bit less of tyre moving around underneath you. That's not a big deal, by the way. Like most buyers of this car, they're not going to care. So you can feel this car has stiffer tyres, but the ride is still really good. Like on this surface here, it's really comfortable, really easy. It's hardly any tyre noise at all, considering they're much bigger and a bit more sticky. That's really good. The steering's a little bit more sharp in this car because there's less give in the tyres and everything. So most of the time it's a front wheel drive car. It just lives in front wheel drive until you give it a little bit through the throttle, and if it's a little bit slippy, it'll send some power to the rear wheels, just to keep everything on the straight and narrow. Now, I'm sad to report, and I hate doing this, I'm sad to report that the transmission is not very good. I think most buyers aren't going to notice, but it does hesitate on shifting. It's a little crotchety in low speed situations. Like, it's a bit more difficult to to maneuver than it really should be. I mean, there are twin clutch transmissions out there that don't hesitate, that don't make life difficult for you when you're moving slowly. And it could be better. In most situations, it's fine, but sometimes when you're on an incline, say you're at a set of lights, it can sometimes take a little while to get going. So unlike its cousin, the Hyundai Kona, with which this shares a lot of stuff, the safety systems are a little less annoying. The lane keep assist doesn't constantly grab the wheel out of your hand. You don't get that kind of really annoying tugging at the wheel. It's kind of, it trusts you a little bit more, which is, again, not a big deal, but it's a bit more of a friendly car to drive, which I obviously am quite a fan of. The great thing about all Seltoses is they are all good to drive, whether it's a 2 litre or a 1.6. And that's really something, you know, like that just shows a real depth of engineering in the car that not every car has. I am sad to report. It's just a really nice car to drive no matter which one. And oddly enough, as a town car, I prefer the 2 litre. But you know, the Sport and Sport Plus, they're both really nicely spec'd. They're not that much more than the base model. You've got that extra safety gears, and you're not paying extra for that. Like, it's a terrific car. There isn't a dud in the range, honestly, to drive. There is not a dud in the range. So even though the S runs on those funny little steel wheels, those hideous wheel caps, it's really nice to drive. And so when you step out of the S and into the Sport Plus with the nicer steering wheel, you're like, hey, this is really nice. And it honestly feels a lot more expensive than it is when you're in the lower end of the range. Up here, you're kind of expecting it to feel this good, but lower in the range, it feels like a really much more solid, much more expensive car than you've paid for. It has that real European feel in the way it drives and the way the suspension is set up. And you know, the local team have done a great job in pulling that together and making it feel like a really strong, cohesive package. And I'm a big fan of this car. I always have been. You know, there's a couple of annoyances like the transmission in the turbo, and Kia does have a better transmission than this, and it would be good if they would use that. It would be good if there was LED lighting in more of the range, because I do think that makes a huge difference to the ownership experience. You know, LED headlights make a big difference, and you know, apart from that, they don't pop. And I do wish the engines were a bit more modern feeling. You know, this turbo engine's a little bit coarse when you put your foot into it. Like, it just doesn't sound very nice, and it doesn't feel as smooth as perhaps I would like it to feel. The 2 litre in the other car is smooth, but again, you put your foot in it, it's a little bit coarse. And that would be nice if they were just a bit more modern. And of course, how good would an electric one of these be? Or even a plug-in hybrid? It would just be great. Because we know Kia can do both of those, don't we? I honestly think this is one of the best compact SUVs on the market, if not close to the best when you factor in value for money. GT-Line, not so much, but Sport Plus, terrific spec. But if you're after one of the biggest compact SUVs on the market, and you have less than 30 grand to spend, a Seltos S with the safety pack, hey, that is the car for you. It was really, really good. Great for growing families. Almost as big as its bigger brother, the Sportage. You know what you're up for servicing. You know what you're up for warranty. You know what you're up for with these cars. But it's not a car that cuts any serious corners. You know, you can buy a Mitsubishi ASX for roughly the same money, and it's got a bit more stuff in it, but it doesn't feel anything like as good to drive. It does not feel anything like as good to sit in, and it's nothing like it on the outside. This is such an individual looking car. Two years on from launch, the Seltos is still a compelling proposition. Kia has hardly touched the spec list. That's how strong it was the day it came out. A couple of little price rises, but nothing massive. This is still a very affordable car. However, if you're going to spend 500 bucks on paint instead of 1,000 bucks on safety, I think you're mad. And anyway, this color, it's a safety feature in itself. So get the S with the safety pack. The GT line, it's got absolutely everything. It is, however, a lot of money. 42.2 is a lot of money for a car. I reckon you get almost as good value out of the Sport Plus without spending all that extra cash. So all the way through the range, there's a good reason to choose each and every one of these Seltoses. It's such an impressive car. You can also recline the seat a little bit backwards and... Oh, sorry. Now the first thing you notice about this car, let me do it while I'm actually facing the camera. Fold it up. All right. Get stuffed.